rescue scene. Press conference by Texas A&M officials, but in the middle of your screen, a rescue now. As you can see, they have brought a gurney up there. There is at least one physician in the green scrubs, as you can see on the left, and the firefighters and rescue crews are about to bring someone else out of that stack of logs, and there they are. Now, as you can see, they have brought a gurney up there. There is at least one physician in the green scrubs, as you can see on the left, and the firefighters and rescue crews are about to bring someone else out of that stack of logs, and there they are, bringing that person. We can only hope and pray that they are alive up to this point, out of the pile of logs, loaded onto the gurney, and they will soon be taking that person away to the hospital. Now, once again, we hope this is the person they have been talking to all along that is still alive. There have been reports, again, unconfirmed reports from different people on the scene, that as many as 5 other people may be trapped inside that log pile. They fear rather that some of them or all of them may be dead. This is the person now being taken away.
And this is likely the person we have been talking about all morning. Officials at the university say the person was conscious, responsive, and receiving IV fluids. And that person, we just received confirmation that person is alive. That was the one person that they have been talking to and talking through all morning long. Just to give you an update, university officials said there will be no bonfire, understandably, this year. There will be other activities associated with next week's celebration. The future of the bonfire is uncertain, but after all this time, this rescue is certainly good news. That person trapped under those logs since about 2 o'clock this morning.
And they have all along been hoping that they would find the rest of these students, if there are some still trapped underneath the logs, alive as well. We had reports this morning that they were talking to 2 or 3 of the students who were still trapped under the logs and that they were fine. We could see the doctor, the physician on the scene, bringing in an IV bottle and a tube, presumably administering some IV fluids to that student just now before they were brought out of that pile and put into the ambulance. If you are just joining us for the first time this morning, this is live coverage, a live rescue you just saw of the bonfire collapse at Texas A&M University. About 2 o'clock this morning, as Cheryl said, it collapsed. 4 students are confirmed dead, 27 others injured. Some of them have been treated and released. Others are in critical condition. Others had broken bones, lacerations, things like that. And many of them are still in the hospital, at least 3 undergoing surgery at this hour.
We understand, as Tom just said, a wide range of injuries. We know that 7 suffered injuries ranging from fractures to internal trauma, and they were kept at St. Joseph's Medical Center. We understand this happened early this morning. Students had input from professional engineers to cut and construct the logs over the course of several weeks. Cranes and tractors put those multiple stacks in place. One of the university officials said they were tied together with baling wire. Unfortunately, that has made the rescue effort a little tougher because they've had to figure out exactly which logs need to be cut and moved away. The bonfire was supposed to reach 62 feet for this year's celebration, but as we mentioned, the university says the future of the bonfire is uncertain. Engineers have been on the scene all morning helping them rescue the person you just saw pulled from that rubble so that rescue workers would know which log they needed to move. And they're also trying to figure out what happened. The structural engineers will be on site today also trying to figure out how, after all these years, that went wrong. And you mentioned all morning, only 1963, the only other year there has not been a bonfire. That was out of respect for President Kennedy. Shortly after the Kennedy assassination, this will be only the 2nd time since this tradition began in 1909.
Now, I'm not sure why the rescue crews and the hard hats are departing from that scene, but there appears to be a lot less intense search effort underway. In fact, they've come down from the top of the pile now. We're not sure if that's because they don't believe anyone else is left in the pile. We can hope that's the case, but as you can see, a lot of them have actually walked away from that wood pile, and there's just 4 or 5
of the stack, and that was occurring at a time after the sun came up where the students were off the stack, and so we called the appropriate people out here and basically watched it rotate over a period of about 4 to 6 hours.
How long has the present design been in use?
The question was, how long has the present design been in use? Over the years, the design has evolved, but the current structure where we use a center pole actually began in 1946, and a spliced center pole, where we have the 2 poles that are spliced together, that process started in 1947. You know, it's varied in the manner in which it's constructed, from more of a lean-to to today's what we call the stacks.
Has there been a decision on whether there will be a bonfire next year?
The question was, has there been a decision about if there'll be a bonfire quarries and how tall will it be when it's completed and approximately how many logs are involved in bonfire? We were on the fourth stack. Each level of the bonfire is referred to as a stack. And the finished project is 55 feet tall. And we were on the fourth stack, which we were probably in the 40 to 45 foot range as far as the height of the bonfire. The question was how many logs do I think we've already used? I don't know. I would need to get a little closer with some of the students. I know that in the end we estimate between 6,000 and 7,000 logs in the finished product. The question is, do we have any limits on how many logs we put on the stack and how many students that we allow to be on the stack at any given time? The number of students that we usually allow on the stack, it's always going to depend upon how high we are going, because when we get to another level, we'll put another group of students up there. But that number usually, well, last night I think we were pretty well maxed out at the maximum amount of students we could have out there at one time, and we had approximately 70.
As far as number of people unaccounted for, the number to start with has varied at times. Right now, our information points to at least 5 people. The question is, how many rescuers involved? How late in the night do you think we'll go? We will go until we're finished. I can't give you a good time frame. We would like to think, for the safety of everyone involved, that we could get through before dark. But there's so many variables involved. Every log you move has an effect on the other logs that are there. So like I said, it's very meticulous, very slow. As far as active rescuers, at any one point inside the action area immediately around the center pole, there's roughly 35 to 40 active personnel at a time. As I said, we're trying to rotate these people out in a timely manner to cut down on the fatigue factor and the stress factor, keep them hydrated, get them something to eat. A lot of energy is expended in this type of effort in a short period of time. Bryan Fire Department has recalled off-duty personnel. Our department has recalled off-duty personnel. It's my understanding that a request is going to the governor to activate the full Texas Task Force USAR team and have them respond. It's very labor intensive. I would say right now we probably have slightly more than 100 rescue people that are rotating in and out of the stack area, and the numbers will grow from there the longer it takes.
Students were working through the early morning, as they usually do each and every year, stacking the logs. That's when something went wrong.
An extremely sad occasion, an occasion which brings great sadness to all the Aggie family and all the Aggie community.
A&M officials still aren't sure what caused the collapse. They said the fourth level was being constructed some 40 feet high. Then at about 2:30 in the morning, students heard a cracking sound. The giant logs then came crashing down, striking many student workers, covering many others. Rescuers rushed to the scene. Professional engineers and work crews then began the lengthy process of removing individual logs. They found and rescued one student.
The stack is not stable. It is paramount that we don't aggravate or further injure the person who is trapped, and it's also paramount that our rescuers are able to operate as safely as possible.
By 9:30 this morning, rescuers had to back off. They placed listening devices around the pile of logs to hear if anyone else might still be buried and alive. Their efforts were successful. They heard moans and movement. So as the crews continue to dig for survivors, Aggies everywhere mourn their loss.
That certainly is one of the challenges. Typically in other investigations you might have more particular data that you can work with, and part of our challenge has been not having that data. It's a engineering challenge, it's an investigation challenge. It's going to be a pretty complex interaction, because what's going to happen is, yes, you will pull up some slack in the rope. It took samples of those. I apologize for the graphics. Hopefully our ability design of the bonfire was supposed to be. This was...
We appreciate you coming.
I consider myself lucky. I think that God was with me that day, and I'm looking forward to seeing this tradition continue as a memorial to those who weren't as fortunate as I was.
Of the structure or apparatus that...
48 hours.
One student leader just told me a few minutes ago who had been involved.
documents that have been released over at the Cushing Library or
Ryan Thompson is on a petition mission. He's handing out bumper stickers, even collecting money for a Bonfire 2000 fund by selling these t-shirts with friend Will Clark. A family that's been through a lot. The images in these recently released videos still haunt the school. The commission investigating the collapse will present its findings this coming Tuesday, which is also the last day of class. The petition drive organizers admit they're as anxious as anyone about the commission's conclusion. The school has lost enough already, they say, and they hope their efforts to sign up support now will keep the tragedy from ending their tradition. In College Station, Patrick Nolan, 13 Eyewitness News.
initial thing that we started to do was to try to account for as many people as possible.